Doing what I'm doing, I want to do for a long time. It's very exciting. And there's mixed emotions when you step down. There's always things that you had left undone that you'd like to have done. But then all of a sudden the curtain's pulled and that chapter's over and
somebody else takes over.
Yeah.
Did you have any major disappointments? What would you like to have done, or your biggest disappointment, maybe your biggest highlight in office as you look back on it?
Well, I'll start with the biggest highlight. First of all, was proving that some things I'd long believed as a citizen would work, that you could introduce common sense in government, and after the first traumatic shock, you kind of made some of it work. We came into quite a mess, and at the end of 8 years, government in the United States, federal, state, and local, has been growing for 20 years in size about 2.5 times as fast as the increase in population, except for the last 8 years in California. We turned over a government that was the same size as the one we inherited 8 years ago. There had been no growth. And in some departments, this meant an increase of as much as 66% in the workload.
Mm-hmm.
But part of that was the welfare reforms.
Right.
Welfare was increasing here in California, 40,000 cases a month. And we left with about 400,000 fewer people on welfare than there were 4 years ago. This saved the taxpayers about $1 billion, but what was equally important, we were spread so thin we couldn't do what we should have done for the really needy, the really deserving, and we were able to increase their grants by way of those reforms 43%. Now, you asked for what was the greatest disappointment. The people handed it to us when I think they were deceived, but when they voted down the tax limitation plan. I still say that the answer to our problems in this country, even at the national level, is to have a law that says there is a percentage limit of the people's earnings that government cannot go beyond without the consent of the people.
You're talking about the gross income of the country and how much they can appropriate for
That's right.
For federal projects.
See, when you and I were boys back in the Midwest,
Right.
the governments, federal, state, and local, were only taking about 15 cents out of every dollar earned. Today, they're taking almost half of every dollar earned in the United States. And most people don't realize it because the taxes are hidden in the so-called business taxes. You know, the politician that stands up and yells, oh, let's save the little man, let's tax business, and everybody yells, hooray. They haven't figured out that every tax on business is just a part of the cost of production. And the customer winds up paying it when he buys the product. It's a hidden sales tax. There's 116 of them in the suit of clothes that each one of us is wearing.
116.
A lot of economists have suggested, and I don't know that it'll ever come to be in this country, that if they closed all of the loopholes and corporations and maybe tax loopholes and even on the rich certain loopholes and made a percentage income and made a flat fee without all of the deductions, that the government might raise as much money as they do now.
Oh, sure. And really, the loopholes, this has been overdone by the politicians, too.
No.
The bulk of the money that is taken by what are called loopholes are the legitimate deductions with which, if the people didn't have them, they couldn't pay their income tax. Interest on their mortgage, interest on the installments on their car, their property taxes on their home, if they have one, and so forth. These are, in politicians' eyes, loopholes. But we ought to have tax reform, and we ought to start by making it so simple that you don't have to hire a lawyer to find out how much you owe every year.
That's for sure. It used to be a little simplified, but not anymore.
Johnny, we live in the only country in the world where it takes more brains to figure out your income tax than it does to earn the income.
You're right. Why do you think people are they seem to be so disheartened now? I know, let's don't get into the Watergate thing, but that certainly had something to do with the antipathy, I think, of a lot of people toward government. Now we see these revelations, whether they're revelations or at least accusations that possibly the CIA has been involved in some operations that they shouldn't have been involved in, certainly domestically. And people begin to get turned off. How do you turn people around and say, all right, now, we're not going to do this anymore? And every day you see more of these things, and I think people withdraw further and further. And that's too bad.
I know, and I think part of it is because we're being bludgeoned every day. It's news. Bad things are news. We just, every day we pick up and they record another 0.1% unemployment and so forth. We keep hearing the bad things. We hear the accusations, and we're kind of used to accepting the accusation as proof of guilt. Now, I'm on the CIA Commission, so I'm rather limited. I cannot talk at this stage.
That's true.
But I think one of the sad things is that the